James stood in the doorway of the busy diner, shaking the rain off his expensive umbrella. He looked down at his daughter, Sophie. She was 10 years old, sitting in her wheelchair, her head tilted slightly to the side. She gave him a lopsided smile, the kind that usually melted his heart, but today, James just felt tired. Being a billionaire meant James could buy anything. He owned hotels, tech companies, and houses all over the world. But he couldn't buy time, and he couldn't buy a cure for Sophie's cerebral palsy. Since his wife passed away 3 years ago, it had been just the two of them. Most days, James felt like he was drowning in work and responsibility. "Table for two?" a waitress asked. Her name tag read Mia. She looked young, maybe a college student, with tired eyes but a warm smile. "Yes, please," James said, checking his watch. "And we are in a hurry." Mia led them to a table in the corner. James was grateful for the privacy. He hated when people stared at Sophie. He hated the pity in their eyes even more. They ordered quickly, a burger for him and mashed potatoes with soft veggies for Sophie. As soon as the food arrived, James's phone began to ring. It was a ringtone he couldn't ignore. It was the investors for his biggest project of the year. "I have to take this, sweetie," James muttered, putting the phone to his ear. "Just a second." Sophie looked at her food. Her hands shook as she tried to lift her spoon. She wanted to eat, but her muscles wouldn't listen to her brain. She managed to scoop up some potatoes, but before it reached her mouth, her hand jerked, and the food splattered onto the table and down her bib. James saw it happen while arguing about numbers on the phone. He felt a surge of frustration, not at Sophie, but at himself. He couldn't feed her and close this deal at the same time. He signaled for the check, thinking they would just have to leave. Sophie looked down, tears welling in her eyes. She knew she had made a mess. That's when Mia came back. James expected her to be annoyed. He expected her to sigh about the dirty table. Instead, she didn't even look at James. She walked right up to Sophie. "Hey there, pretty girl," Mia said softly. She pulled a chair from a nearby table and sat down next to the wheelchair. "Those potatoes look delicious, but they are tricky, aren't they?" James froze, his phone still pressed to his ear, the investors talking into the void. He watched as Mia picked up the spoon. She didn't treat Sophie like a baby. She treated her like a friend. "I used to help my little sister eat just like this," Mia said, wiping Sophie's chin with a napkin gently. "She had a smile just like yours." Mia scooped up a small amount of food. She waited for Sophie to be ready, then guided the spoon to her mouth. Sophie ate it and beamed. "Is it good?" Mia asked. Sophie made a happy sound and nodded. James slowly lowered his phone. He ended the call. A deal worth millions was on the line, but suddenly he didn't care. He sat in stunned silence, watching this waitress, who probably made minimum wage, give his daughter the one thing he had been too busy to give her: patience. The diner was loud, filled with the sound of clattering plates and chatter, but at that table it felt quiet and peaceful. Mia fed Sophie until the plate was clean. She talked to her the whole time, telling her funny stories about the rainy weather and the grumpy cook in the back. Sophie laughed, a real belly-shaking laugh that James hadn't heard in months. When Mia stood up to clear the plates, James felt a lump in his throat. He felt small. He felt ashamed. "Thank you," James said. His voice cracked. I was on the phone. I should have." Mia shook her head. It's okay, sir. We all get overwhelmed. She's a sweet kid. It was the best part of my shift. James looked at Mia. He saw her worn-out shoes and the way she rubbed her back when she thought no one was looking. Why did you do that? James asked. You have other tables. You're busy. Mia shrugged, smiling sadly. My sister passed away last year. She was disabled, too. I miss helping her. Feeding your daughter. It felt like I was with my sister again for a few minutes. So, thank you. She walked away to pour coffee for another customer. James looked at Sophie. She was full, clean, and happy. He looked at his phone, then slid it into his pocket. He realized that for the last few years, he had been chasing money to secure Sophie's future, but he had been missing her present. When the bill came, it was for $28.50. James pulled out his checkbook. He didn't just leave a tip. He wrote a check for $25,000. On the note line, he wrote, "For your tuition, and for reminding a father what actually matters." He didn't stick around to see her reaction. He wheeled Sophie out into the rain, but the world didn't feel so gray anymore. He stopped on the sidewalk, knelt down next to his daughter, and hugged her tight. "How about we go to the park, Sophie?" he asked. "No work today. Just us." Sophie smiled, and for the first time in a long time, James smiled back, knowing that the waitress hadn't just fed his daughter, she had healed his heart.